why Paul Ellering looks like fucking Freddie Mercury doing PE. I don't know. Hello and welcome back to the only wrestling podcast that exclusively rebooks, reviews and reimagines the worst of wrestling's past. We are Better Call Creative, and as ever I am joined to my left by Sir Kill-A-Lot. It's Sam Chance.
Hello.
Sergeant Bash. It's Jack Chance.
Hello.
And I am Matilda.
You're more shunt.
I thought you'd been shunt.
I didn't pick Shunt. Is Shunt a boy? Is Shunt the robot wars boy?
Matilda's a girl.
Matilda's
Oh, you mean in terms of a boy?
No, like a boy.
Oh.
Which one would be a boy?
Out of all
Dead
of them,
Metal.
Dead Metal. What about that one with a big hammer?
Shunt
Mr.
is about
Sideshow.
boys.
Shunt is a boy.
Shunt was boyish because you could have fun with his name.
Yeah.
Because he's shite.
Doesn't give you any idea of what we're reviewing, really. But
Craig Charles.
yeah, we are reviewing the return of Robocop at Capital Combat 1990. Actually, we placed, I think it was Wrestle War.
No,
Wrestle
that was the
War.
one before.
No, well, Wrestle War was the first WCW Pay Per View in '89 in May, but they moved it forward in 1990 to do in.
Yeah, because I don't think they had any proper structure, did they, at this point?
Not
With
more
the
at the end.
management.
Not like...
They were owned by the bloke who ran Pizza Hut.
And then one, because I've listened to Shivani's podcast, this is his first one back.
Yeah.
And he said when he see this, at this point, he was still going, I've made a big mistake coming back here.
Well, he does only introduce, doesn't he? And basically
Yeah.
do a few backstage interviews. But we'll get to that. But yeah, the world of WCW in 1990 is a strange place. And it is being run by one Jim Herd, who is running the company, and
Into the grave.
we'll discuss him later on. But the world of 1990, it is May 19th, 1990, and number one in the UK was Killer by Adamansky and Seal. You know that one? Adamansky. Don't know, it was like a dance group, I think.
Oh, was that what they
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
I would
Never know. When I saw Killer, I thought, what the hell is this crap? There you go.
Seal.
It's playing at the moment. Have a listen.
Oh,
But you'll know the US number one as Vogue by Will Smith. No, by Madonna. Was number one over the pond.
Robocop.
Pretty Woman was topping the UK box office, and on the cover of the WWF magazine, May 90.
Warrior.
No, Bruce's Beefcake.
Oh,
The Wrestle wrap-up was actually in time. It was Sting and Robocop, and that was the WCW magazine at the time. We're told about the Wrestle wrap-up during the event as well, but I'll drop a reference into when that is later on. And the season had wrapped up, but West Bromwich Albion. It was, yeah.
Oh, we were shit.
Yeah, well, we finished near the bottom of Division 2, finished 20th, and we lost 3-1 to Ipswich.
We never beat them, though.
Nah.
You just survived, didn't you? Was it Middlesbrough who went down?
Yeah. And
Oh,
Liverpool fared a bit better.
Won the league.
Last time they won the league, though, for
Yeah.
a long time. Until
The last time fans saw us win the league.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was...
And it probably will be another 30 years before we see it again.
fair point. Liverpool fared a little bit better, beating Coventry 6-1.
Yeah.
England, they would do have 2 warm-up matches.
Was one against Aylesbury United? Because I did play Aylesbury United in a warm-up.
England.
Yep.
V. Aylesbury.
Yep.
That's fucking
That's
amazing.
not a warm-up.
That's what they were saying.
When we're doing a podcast on that, who booked
I'm
that?
sure he's seen
Did
that.
we
The
win?
World Cup 90 or the Euros 92.
That's fucking
Aylesbury
amazing.
fans must have been so confused as to who do I support.
What about if they'd have picked a load of Aylesbury players?
What if Aylesbury won?
They'd have had to have gone
Like
over.
the bragging rights, we're just going to switch the team to all Aylesbury United.
No,
It was one of the tournaments that England did play Aylesbury in a
What?
warm-up.
I didn't.
I'll find it and I'll send you a picture.
Around this week, they played 2. I can't rule out that it was Aylesbury, but they played Denmark, beating them 1-0, and they lost 2-1 to Uruguay.
And they were very good at that
No.
point either.
Don't think,
Uruguay was in the World Cup.
did they qualify for
Yeah,
the World Cup?
I think they got to the last 16. I think. Who was their group?
It's okay, we'll leave
Yeah,
that out
fine.
because we'll be here for hours.
Yeah.
But yes, Uruguay beat us 2-1. So that was the world of 1990. But Jack, I hope as ever that you have a poll.
I do all albums that released around this time.
Nothing to do with robots and coppers.
No, but the pay-per-view is really easy because it's just a date.
Yeah.
So we have The Works by Nick Kershaw.
For some reason, I was convinced it was Pink Floyd, even though it wouldn't have made any sense. But,
Not Pink Floyd.
Nick Kershaw, yes, I know Nick Kershaw is very 90s.
Yeah, this one is heavier. It's Slowly We Rot by Obituary.
What do they sing?
I'm guessing it's going to be like death metal or something.
Love
like
ballads. Love ballads. Next we have 10 Good Reasons by Jason Donovan.
Oh! Dancing on ice.
That's our Australian view.
Yes.
And the winner is The Miracle by Queen.
Yes. I hope it's Jason Donovan. I must admit. Oh, is that song?
Yeah, that's
I have heard that song. Terrible. But if you
matches on this.
Right, that's the song going on.
but if you want to let Jack know which one of those Queen albums that he will be reviewing,
Which Jason Donovan album?
head over to our Twitter page now, which is at BCCpod. Give us a follow there and a vote, and the reviews themselves are housed on our website, which is bettercallcreative.com. Right, WCW 1990, here we go.
Let's do this shit!
So we open up, and WCW's packages are never quite WWF, are they? Because we open up on a secret file, which shows us a little bit of what's going on, which basically is Sting's injured.
Sting's injured.
Yeah. Don't bother
Basically.
paying for this pay-per-view, because the most over thing in the company now ain't fighting on it. Tony Schiavone welcomes us to the show and drops 2 references to the return of Robocop.
But I don't get that. He wasn't here before, was he? So why is he returning?
No. I mean,
I think it's because it's the
just
second
the arrival
Robocop film was
yeah.
done by Turner, or it was going to be
released.
released by Turner.
Yeah, they have to
film,
tell
So
you.
the return from when he wasn't in WCW but was on film, the return now is happening on
The
WCW.
return.
Yeah, it's like if they did No
he was
Holds
never
Barred
there.
2 with Zeus,
Yeah.
but it was somebody else doing it. Vince Gill, Return of Zeus.
Yeah. So the crowd, which is very, very weak. Now, do you remember way back on episode, I think it was 4 or 5, we did the Bunkhouse Brawl?
Yes.
Oh,
do you
88.
remember that on that they posted
The wrong,
tickets out
the wrong time.
saying start time 7:30
Yeah.
and it was 6:30 because they got Eastern and Pacific
But they
time.
do it again.
They did it again.
I
They
wonder
sent
why
out
was it
tickets
fair?
saying the start time was 8 and they started at 7. So people were outside.
How can
the
you not
arena.
learn your lesson?
What a
Unbelievable.
bunch of idiots.
And we get the introduction to the
Oh.
show. As it's Armed Forces Day, we get the national anthem from
Oh, that
a
made me
marching
laugh.
band.
That made me laugh, that did.
It wasn't the best version of
No.
It's very WCW.
Yeah. We're just not quite as good as them up the road, have we? We head to Tony briefly to plug Sting and Robocop again before we go to our commentary team for the night, which is a nice change of pace. It's JR and Bob Caudle. who's becoming a little bit of a boy.
Yeah, I don't mind Coddle.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
all right.
he's
isn't he?
All right.
Yeah.
He don't know anything about wrestling. I've read Ross's book. Because he don't know anything about wrestling, but he was a good foil for him because JR could do everything and
Yeah.
Coddle could just jump in and say
But I always thought
little
Bob
bits.
Cole was sort of like the main one for a while.
He was
thought he
before
was.
Ross turned up.
And then Ross sorted it
Ross
out.
had a contract where he had to do pay-per-views and all that sort of shit.
Okay.
So
So
then,
so was Bob Cole the colour man then?
predominantly,
Yeah,
yeah, that was
Okay.
right. At this point, I ain't sure he
Because really,
started.
when you kind of look at the four mainers, them all play by play.
Yeah.
Really, when you look at it,
I know what you
because
mean.
there's no Ventura or anything, is
I
there?
think that's why because Ventura was in the WCW not long after this.
He was in
Yeah.
WF at this point, I think, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
he come later on.
So they run down the card and hype up Lex Luger
Oh,
chasing the title
God, they don't
tonight.
I put Luger.
We go to our first match of the night, though, and the very first sight that we see of a wrestler is Oliver Humperdinck with
And
his
his
shirt
Oh,
open.
God, what an image.
He's not quite
got
Lou
very-
Albano, but fucking hell, he's mad.
He's not quite Lou Albano, but he's got very tiny nipples.
He has got tiny.
He's got tiny nipples.
Would you make a story out of that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not,
This is Rebook
Nipple on a pole.
nipple match.
I watched these yesterday after finishing the higher power, so I was kind of a bit drunk, not drunk literally,
Oh, you
but
was
kind
drunk.
of wrestling drunk.
Yeah.
And then the first thing I saw was Humperdinck's
That's a
nipples.
hell of a change of pace. That is. And yeah,
It was a very strange day.
he brings out his cohorts. It is Kevin Sullivan in pants.
Jack's boy.
Cactus Jack, not quite sure whether he's quite Cactus Jack yet.
Well, he's only getting there.
And Bam Bam, who's just decided I can't be like I was in WWE, so I'll take the sleeves off my shirt and turn it into a singlet.
I don't know, but even then,
The singlet's terrible, isn't it?
It is. I looked. I thought stare to this, but I
Dave
thought,
Jarvis.
is this? Did Vince sue him for his gear? You couldn't wear that in WCW, so you got to wear this.
We own that.
We don't own the gimmick. We don't own your name. We own your clothes.
I mean, the patent people anyway must be really confused when Vince puts in for things anyway.
Yeah.
But why does he want to own that?
Yeah.
So if the patent people get this land on the desk, Vince has he's got an issue with people having sleeves on a thing that has got flames on it. Just let him have it.
But I'm not. I think because
back.
as well, because you think Bam Bam, if he dressed like this before he went to the Fed, you could kind of understand. But the fact he'd been in the Fed and he'd already got his attire,
But he
and
don't
he'd
want
not
to.
have gone back to this.
He just thought people are going to think that I'm the same Bam Bam. Yeah.
Not
no,
your
no,
name
not.
and your head.
But they are going up against the Road Warriors, who are out on the back of Harleys. They're not driving them.
They leave not long after.
Yeah,
so
well,
they go to the Fed.
Obviously. And their tag team partner is from the Insane Asylum. It's Norman. The
Norman,
lunatic, yeah.
They got rid of the lunatic. I think there was a tickery they couldn't have it, and to make him a bit more kid friendly, they got rid of the lunatic.
Just called him Norm.
Just called
Yeah,
him Norman.
and he did the Sal Palermo gimmick where he had all cuddly toys later on.
Yeah, he weren't no Sal Palermo, I'll tell you that for nothing.
I mean, look at the shirt he was wearing. Do
Jesus
you want a
Christ.
Norman shirt?
That Norman I do want a Norman shirt. It's amazing. He's the only person who seems to have his own merch on this show. The Smarky crowd want Cactus for mayor. We start out, okay, so we've got Animal, who hits a big stiff scoop slam. There's a stiff clothesline by Hawk on Cactus Jack, which brings in Bigelow, who gets drop kicked by Hawk. Bammer has had enough, so Sullivan comes in, who gets clotheslined by Hawk. Norman and Jack are in now, so Norman hits a corner charge before wanting Bam Bam. As Bam Bam gets in, he strangely tags out to Animal, which didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I saw that. What?
But don't worry, we've had the heat now, so what we're going to have is we're going to have the heels building. No, Animal, clothesline, Bam Bam to the outside. Jack pops the crowd with a bump to the outside, and he bumps to
He
the
does
outside.
it twice, though.
Hawk hits the
Wow.
apron, hits a clothesline from the apron before Irish whipping Jack into the crowd. Norman finally sees that this match can't go anywhere if no one sells, so starts selling for Sullivan, and Bam Bam and Sullivan double team him. Bam Bam suplexes Norman, and it's here that I realise that in 3 years' time, Bam Bam, Norman, Doinks are us.
Yeah, Bastion Bull.
Yeah, they're going to be a tag
I
team.
didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Vince looked at this and said, I've seen money.
Yeah, because like, you look at it, you got Bam Bam, the Taskmaster, and Mankind for the Road Warriors and Bastion Booger.
Yeah, it is a strange stuff. One of these is going to headline a
happens.
Two of these are going to headline a WrestleMania. With Mick Foley and
Bam Bam was the first.
I mean, you do it when you look throughout the card. Vince just looked at this and went, ah! That's basically what he does.
Well, he literally picks the ones he wants, though, and turns them into bigger stars.
Have we got to the point yet where Cactus is outside and then where you just see the steps just go flying? Was it Hawk?
That was after he Irish whipped him into the crowd.
Yeah,
at that point, I got sick of writing Animal and Hawk destroyed him.
Because you saw that, and then I thought, okay, they're going to have a brawl, and then you just saw the steps just come flying, and I laughed at that.
It was
I
funny.
couldn't stop laughing.
Cactus Jack to me just feels like a man out of time. It's like a diving neckbreaker hangman spot on the over the top. Unbelievable.
And when he does his clothesline, you think they're both going to go over. They don't, and Cactus just goes over on his own.
JR tells us that people are still getting inside the arena at this point.
I wonder why.
So not only have you not done it, then you've told us that, by the way, we're stupid.
We fucked it up.
Norman hits a clothesline but can't hold himself up. Completely and utterly fucked. Animal's in to take it to the heels, which leads to a brawl. There's complete and utter chaos, but basically Hawk, who didn't get the hot tag, hits the top rope clothesline on Sullivan, who wasn't the legal man, and the LOD featuring Norman have won the match. Jack?
It was okay. I mean, you know, the LOD at this point ain't selling anything, so it's difficult to work with them. So you put him with somebody who's going to take a load of bumps in Cactus, and he takes loads of bumps to try and pop the crowd. Most of the crowd are in, so that sort of doesn't help. And then I would say the wrong winners. I would say the heels need to win more than the faces over Norman, because the feud is Norman versus all them three.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a flat opener for me.
I just thought it needed a better heater, because I think Norman's okay, much better than what he'll become at this point. But he's not really a good enough heater, because he is supposed to be a lunatic, crazy man. So if he has to do all the selling, it kills his gimmick.
Well, I think because I'm pretty sure the story was he was teaming with Cactus beforehand. He come in as a heel with him, and I'm assuming Sullivan, because anything mental you usually end up with Sullivan. So that's what. So really, the story was Cactus and Norman, but I don't know how Bam Bam appeared. And the LOD, I'm assuming them trying to keep him there when really they've already gone up north.
The thing is, I don't mind the fact that you've got these brawling kind of people on especially on the card. You see the roster. I don't mind that, but when you then
show the shows, I've got the Pro Wrestling Illustrated from this.
Well, if you then put them all in one match and add in two people who won't lose and won't sell, then the match is fucked. It wasn't it was not bad bell to bell.
No,
it was just annoying.
You could tell nobody wanted to work. Only like one or two wanted to work, and the LOD didn't. Yeah. Like when all clothesline Cactus, I thought,
that opening clothesline.
What's he done?
That opening clothesline where Hawk literally just does not stop.
Yeah. So Hawk's annoyed at Summit, but Cactus was in the way. I felt sorry for Mick.
But Mick, if you look at this match, you can see that there is one standout talent, and it's Cactus Jack.
Yeah, it's Sullivan.
Sullivan and Bam Bam are good, but Cactus Jack is another level.
He's the younger one.
Yeah, he's just another level. Yeah. So, JR tells us that Sullivan will have to leave the ring now as Johnny Ace's theme is playing.
Yeah. Oh, this made me laugh. Again, on Shivani's podcast, he even takes the piss out of this. What? The production. Oh. Because when the next person comes out, you still see Sullivan at that lead.
Yeah. And also the theme.
These themes of shit.
Jesus Christ, it's awful. He's very white meat babyface, and his opponent, who we're told, is managed by Theodore R. Lung. Who ain't fucking there? He's not for a bit. So turns up halfway through his entrance. Till he reaches the ring, it is The Undertaker, or as he is christened in WCW,
Mean Mark.
The Barrier? No, the Mean Mark.
Mean Mark.
Calloway.
Mean Mark.
Callis.
I thought it was Callus.
Oh, Callis. Sorry, I'll put Calloway. That's his real name, isn't it?
Calloway's his real
It
name.
was just called Mean Mark.
Mean Mark. Mark Callus, because I think, according to Jim Rock, Terry Funk named him it.
Callus and Cruel.
Callus Cruel, yeah.
He'll go on
was
to do
speaking in
better.
tongues in this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you believe in your gimmick too much, Mark, and you're too mean.
See you in 9 years.
The commentary team put over the most devastatingly weak finishing manoeuvre in wrestling is the heart punch. And the guy in the front row, I don't know whether either of you two noticed it, but off camera, he must have thrown something because they kick him out.
Yeah, I saw something.
Teddy
Yeah,
and
because you see
Mark
Taker look at him, and then you see the security go, "Oh, come on!" I thought
I think he threw something at Teddy.
Or said something because it was 1990. That's what I thought as well. That's what I thought.
And looking at the fella as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It could have been. Could have been.
Get it. Go on.
So we've got Johnny Ace, Teddy Long, Future Feud, WrestleMania Feud, and we've got the Undertaker as well. So JR reminds us that Mean Mark loves Ozzy Osbourne, apparently. As the
Did
two
you
hook
say
up.
something else as well?
They batch the head off a batch.
That's it. His favourite pet is a snake.
Yeah.
And his favourite artist is Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, Bob Connell says, "Oh, you're gonna be a weird man to have a lack of snake." What? Why?
Well, there's a bloke who's fairly over on the other show.
Can't mention
He's
him.
got a snake.
Mark regroups after a drop kick and a suicide dive from Johnny Ace. And completely, I don't understand this because I thought it was the squash match. Johnny Ace is completely in control as it's a crossbody from the top. But Teddy lays in some kicks outside. Mean Mark hits a stalling suplex, and again, Teddy lays in a jab. Johnny Ace fights out of a rest hold into a big boot and a big leg drop, but the commentary team tell him off for overconfidence on the pin. And a schoolboy attempt literally pops the crowd because I think Johnny's going to win. But he does manage to kick out at 2. Johnny misses a top rope dive, and Mean Mark hits the heart punch, which we're told is so devastating that he doesn't believe that could finish him, so has to do a better finisher, which is a top rope walk elbow for the 3, which on the Slam-O-meter, and bear in mind, this is the only time we see it. That's what really annoyed me. I understand you're building it up, but if it's the only time we see it, just fucking call it a 10, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they did build it up as if it was going to happen all the time.
Yeah. We've got a new feature here, the Slam-O-meter. We'll introduce it later on. Oh, here's the Slam-O-meter.
They fucked it up because they did 8.2, and I'm sure it shows 8.1.
I'd put 8.3. So
8.3.
I didn't give a shit.
I don't think anybody did.
No, I mean, what the fuck was that? Not only the match, but the fucking Slam-O-meter. Sam?
This should have been a squash. Really. You needed to get Mean Mark over. I mean, he left. I think not long.
Would have as
I know
well.
he at the end of the year he becomes the Undertaker, but I don't know when he did leave because he had the thing with Oli. I think
He
later.
apparently he gets moved into a feud with Lex Luger and fights him at Great
And that's
American
what
Bash,
Vince sees
and that's
and
what
Dave.
Vince
But
sees.
I think was Taker injured and Luger had an injured foot, which I think he always has according to this show.
Oh, he spent his career injured.
Yeah.
That's the only justification for Lex Luger.
But I think that's it. One of them was injured or something, or they was both injured, and Vince just went, chicken pal. And then he brings it back, so I love it, pal.
Yeah. Thank God he did. It should have been a squash. I mean, I think Johnny Ace isn't a great fit for a squash match either because he's too tall. He doesn't really fit, and he's a bit too over as a character.
Had it been the
Surfer Boy.
That's it. Yeah, I can't remember the name. Now.
Dynamic Dude.
That's it.
Yeah.
Had he been them yet?
I think they'd already happened.
That already happened.
I think he was winding down his career because he don't do a great deal after this. He was the flag bearer for the Bushwhackers. But I mean,
he does do a lot. He kind of ruins the Fed.
It might probably show the depth of the roster because they quite just sacrifice Johnny Ace because he might just have enough in him to get a Midwestern tag team.
Well, I don't know. I looked at the show results to try and get the roster in that Pro Wrestling Illustrated because it's June 1990, so I thought it probably may. And there's some better ones on there that you could have had.
Well, we'll see later on in the rebooking, but yeah, should have been a squash, Jack.
Yeah, it should have been more one-sided to be Mark. Glad he won. I was worried he was going to win.
Oh, that frightened me when I kept seeing it. I was like, oh God, don't let him win.
The biggest annoyance for me is you spend all the match hyping a move and then you don't win the move. So.
I think even me and Mark, the problem is me and Mark obviously thinks that ain't a finish. No, I don't want to use it.
I don't mind.
It was back in the 70s because I think they did the whole thing with Ox Baker, right? That's what they said.
I don't like the heart punch, but I can accept it in the 90s. But when you've got a big bloke who can walk across the top ropes, do a move that works off the top rope. It makes sense.
The barbarian elbow, in a sense, that's what I call it. Because that barbarian elbow is much better than the heart punch. It should be his finish, and they should have built that as his finish, but they spent the whole match building up a heart punch and the slammer beater, and neither of them were executed very well.
Well, do you want to be...
me or just Taker always getting to things that don't really make any sense? Because show him in the higher power that was built up for months and they really go anyway.
It was better than his Ken Shamrock match, though. So
I'll take your word for that. I don't see that.
I'd rather watch these.
Gordon...
Johnny Ace is better than Ken Shamrock.
And that was better than Johnny Ace versus John Cena as well. So
what a match.
Gordon, he deserves better solely. Approaches the locker room of Sting and Robocop. We hear some strange noises as Soli basically
what the hell is Sting doing to Robocop?
It does really sound weird, but he basically can't get in. And he gives us a recap as to why Sting can't fight, and apparently Sting is here to protect his little stingers.
Yeah, I like that.
But surely, you've got the security there, but surely we've booked Robocop. Can't we interview him? No.
Don't try and logic.
He is a robot cop. Why does he need security?
Yeah,
good point.
Okay, Jim Ross, it's not too hard to figure out what's going to go on in a corporal punishment match. All four men will have leather straps, and Robert Gibson will be able to use those leather straps any way at all.
That's right, Tony Giovanni. First of all, I'd like to say, me and brother, we're all fired up. We'd like to say hello to all the nice fans out there that stood behind the Rockville Express through thick and thin. Let me tell you something, Freebirds. Tonight, this strap here is going to be in our corner. There's going to be a strap in the Freebirds corner. And Tony Giovanni, brother and I, we forgot the whooping that they gave us. For Freebirds tonight, it's payback time. We're going to whip your behinds like your mama should have done a long, long time ago.
Hey, Ricky, your partner here's prepared.
That's right, Tony, but you know, I'd like to talk about one thing first. You see, we have been down many, many highways, but every road we took led us right back here to NWA. Now, we know that our good friends, the Steiners brothers, have a world tag team title match tonight with Doom. But like we told the people, we're here for one reason. Let us become the NWA World Tag Team Champions for the 5th time, brother. And that's what it's all about. That's what it boils down to. But then again, I want to change the subject a little bit and talk about the Four Horsemen. You see that Ole Anderson has come out here, brother, and regrouped the Four Horsemen, telling the whole world what he's going to do. But you see, I will say one thing about you, Ole Anderson. You're the kind of guy that even sacrificed your own brother to win the World Tag Team titles. Well, you see, things are going to change. This is why I'm talking about this, Tony, because it's stuck in my mind all day. You see, I was talking to Lex Luger earlier. And Lex Luger, if everybody don't know, the fans don't know, that he was just released from the hospital today. He's not supposed to be here. But he guaranteed me and all these nice friends that, brother, he's not going to let them down. It don't matter what the Four Horsemen do, brother. He's going to take care of the business.
All right, let's go to the ring.
The Rock and Roll Express cut a promo. Gibson barely...
Oh, this promo.
What the fuck is he doing?
When Morton's talking.
I got that. Gibson barely breathes, but basically he thanks the fans and says he's going to whoop the Freebirds. Morton cuts the better half of the promo, but you can't focus on it because all the way through, Gibson is doing, presumably, the BBC 2 4 o'clock in the morning sign language because he just constantly sign language.
Doing all this
Don't do drugs, kids.
Maybe he was trying to tell somebody off camera because his eye looked over there. So he was trying to...
He's got out. Robocop's out.
Maybe he could see the Freebirds and I was going, what we're doing in the match, and that's what he was doing with them.
It was a terrible promo anyway, but it was made funny by
Gib.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't splice in what he was actually doing. But
maybe Gibson just got sick of Ricky Morton always being the one that everybody bothered about.
I mean, we'll see the match later on, but you've only got to put him in a promo to know which one of them is more charismatic than the other.
Yes. You understand me?
In the hierarchy of tag teams, Jack, where do Tommy Rich and Captain of the Ship Mike Rotundo rank?
Just a touch lower than Mr. and Media.
They're going up against the Samoan SWAT team, which isn't quite the Samoan SWAT team either. It's Tama and
the Savage. Samoan Savage and Fatu.
Tama was the Kitonga Kid.
Yeah. I think he was with Haku in the Islanders.
And they're going up against...
Samu was injured again.
Yeah. I think he was in the company though, wasn't he?
I think he was in the company, but that was the initial Samoan SWAT team, Samu and Fatu.
I always thought it was, to be honest. I was surprised.
It was them, but then I saw the Samoan Savage, thought I'd just get Tama in.
Get another one of them. Bring up Afa. Have you got another son? Send him down.
Maybe they saw Yoko and he's too big.
Now, this match is about 17 minutes, and the first 4 of them is the Samoan SWAT team desperately trying to do their ceremony. And then, I mean, in fairness to WCW, they didn't go quite as racist as WWE with the Samoan Savage kind of thing. They did sort of allow them to talk English, and there was a bit of sensible... But they did go into racism of they're both brown, they must be the same, because they did twin magic spots.
The twin magic spots.
For sake!
What are you doing? Just going, if that's fucking you! What you doing? You don't look the same! He's got a beard.
Tama also says Samoa number 1, which...
I saw that. Samoa number 1, America. Very old school.
The captain.
I like that.
And I'm going to be calling him the captain all the way through. Brings the pace, drop kicking Fatu. It's the best I think I've ever saw.
But I like the fact that this is only like 2 minutes into the match, and how sweaty he is. He's very shiny.
I've put that. Once again, when they try and do a twin magic, this time it gets caught. Fatu misses a top rope headbutt as the face dominates. The faces dominate. Rich and Rotundo do a heel sort of no tag. I wonder if you'll see that later on. And Rotundo, very sweaty.
Faces to the heel tag thing?
Not a clue. Rotundo, very sweaty. He hits a side suplex and then a standing vertical suplex. JR puts over his cardio. We've seen him. He's sweaty like fuck. He's not got no cardio at all.
See that and think, let's cover him up.
Yeah, we're reminded that the top rope over the top... the crappy over the top rope rule still exists. Because apparently the heels distract the ref. There's Sheamus-like clubs by Tama. The ref does an arm drop on Rotundo. His arm drops at least 5 times, but we just carry on regardless. Whatever. Rotundo gets the hope spot on a diving elbow, but can't quite make the hot tag. Once again, we get a blind tag missed by the ref, and the SWAT team double team on a backdrop to the captain. Captain shows us a little of what's to come, hitting the right-off, before making a hot tag to Wildfire, Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich locks in a sleeper on Fatu as the ref tries to get rid of Rotundo, and that allows Tama to come off the top rope with a headbutt on the back of Rich's head. And the Samoan SWAT team have won our first tag team match, and not our last, of the night. Jack?
Yeah, I didn't like it. Didn't really care. Didn't care that they were fighting. No real reason to fight. Captain Mike Rotundo is one of the worst gimmicks. One of the most ill-fitting gimmicks I've ever seen. Yeah. Because you've just basically given him a hat
and a coat.
Oh, and he had a coat.
Do you know he had a crew at one point?
He had a crew.
He had a crew, which was Norman the Lunatic and Abdullah the Butcher.
What the fuck?
Jesus.
I don't know if that was before this or after this, but it was when he was heel. So the captain turned face.
Oh, he was a heel?
He was a heel at one point.
Oh,
look, I know what would you want to turn Abdullah the Butcher face?
I was convinced there was faces till they did the heel stuff.
No, that was faces at this point.
Yeah, it was a nothing match, and I didn't enjoy it at all.
It went too long.
The whole start was too long.
Yeah, there's some tag teams during this that I can kind of understand the time that they give because they're credible and the crowd care.
Yeah.
The crowd don't care here, and again, you know which tag team has got more legs. The one that is a tag team
that has a name.
Yeah. Christ.
Yeah, this was bad. It went on far too long. As well, and the thing that annoyed me as well, the faces to the heel tag spot. I had this rant when you tried to convince me about that stupid rock and roll fucking heavenly bodies match, because the rock and roll did the exact same thing. Spoiler. Again, faces shouldn't do that spot. That's a heel spot. But the face is doing it, and I'm going, don't tell the crowd, don't tell the ref. Fuck off. Shit.
You love Hogan. He was a heel all the way through his
career. The eyes all the time.
Do you know what? Had we been watching this before the WWE Network, would have been different about this event?
There's about 3 matches, hadn't
it? Before the WWE Network existed, even on the VHS releases, they didn't put in those 3 matches. All of those 3 matches we've just reviewed, they cut them.
Is it because the crowd?
I think it probably was because they looked at the crowd and they thought that the crowd weren't in, so
they did miss a lot.
But yeah, they cut them from all the DVDs.
I thought you meant there was 3 matches on the show that they cut out, including these that we watched.
Them 3 matches, they just started with Teddy Long and Paul Ellering as their opening match.
Oh, what a bad opening. I mean, them 3 was pointless. They missed a lot, but
I love this.
But you've got it.
I absolutely love it. I mean, it's crap, but it's...
Oh, I have a word.
You loved off WrestleMania 2.
George Wells v. Jake was great.
Anyway, Joey Schiavone is with the Steiners. Rick Steiner looks like he's in recess. He's got the worst backwards cap you've ever seen. Says Teddy Long is with...
These promo are the best, is he? None of them, to be honest.
I have to sum these up, and he basically says Teddy Long is with Doom. Okay.
Jim Ross, thank you very much. When you talk about the great athletes in the NWA, it stops right here, guys, because you got them. The World Tag Team Champions, Scott and Rick Steiner, and listen to the response tonight, putting the titles up against Doom.
You know, Doom's a tough team. But they got that Teddy Long, too. So we got locked up for a lot of things out there. Me and my brother, we prepared for this match, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to win.
I'm sure that's true, Scotty.
You know, Tony Schiavone, when me and my brother were growing up, we went through a lot together. And we were in college on our way to becoming All-Americans. We won a lot of matches together. But there was a few matches that we lost. But believe me, when it was time to wrestle the Steiner brothers, that line was very short. But believe me, nobody's unbeatable and nobody's invincible. Doom, you want a match with us? Well, you're not going to get one. Because we came to Washington, D.C. to suplex you on your head. He came here to give you a clothesline. And when it's all said and done and the smoke's clear, you're going to be like everybody else. Beat up.
Steiner rambles. He says they won a lot of fights in college and they lost some too. And Doom wanted to fight tonight, but they ain't getting it. They're getting suplexed and clotheslined.
Right. Yeah, Doom ain't getting a match. But you're in a match with him? What the fuck are you on about?
Steiner, fucking hell. He is mental. We now get told the winners of the sweepstakes is the brothers... The brother of Bill Watts and Deirdre Barlow. And
I done this before one of the other matches, because I'm sure he announced it. We'd like to announce the sweepstakes, but it goes quiet. And then I thought, when they did it at this point, I thought, I'm sure you did this already.
I think they did it before the Samoan SWAT team match. So.
But the day showed the people on camera.
They wanted to get them on camera, which was a wrong idea.
Maybe they got the tickets, they got the wrong time.
Missy Hyatt is the referee, is what it's announced for our next match, which is definitely the ring announcer. And she's out. Fucking hell, this is the weirdest celebrity fucking appearance.
I like this.
His celebrity hairstylist. Jay Tapper.
I know you go and get Vicky Clark or Brutus or something.
I think Brutus is on the other channel.
I know, yeah.
Or had his face exploded at this point.
He probably had it. Now, it was probably right. I think he was building up to. He was building up to SummerSlam, wasn't he? Missy introduces our contestants for the next match. It's Paul Ellering, who's in the ring, jobber entrance and all. And then Teddy Long steals and saves this show. But he's so brilliant when he comes out in his boxing gear, over the top. It's Sugar Ray Theodore or Sugar Ray Long. Bob Connell, he don't give a shit about heel and face. He fucking loves it. He absolutely loves it. And to be fair to Teddy Long, he ain't bad shape. I mean, he's a bit weaselly, but he's all right. Paul Ellering jumps.
Match,
well, Paul Ellering jumps. He's jumped, and Teddy lays in some shots with the gloves. We get a 2 before Ellering grabs him. Teddy lays in another shot for a 2. And this is the first time we're sort of told that glove must be loaded.
Yeah.
Ellering grabs the arm and removes the gloves. He slams Teddy and uses the glove and covers him for a 3. There's a big pop, and Jay Tapper runs over and cuts a bit of Teddy Long's hair from his head, which Teddy Long sells, trying desperately to save this fucking angle. Really, really well, hiding in the armpit of the referee and running away. I mean, look, I hate having that this is the worst match of the night, because it just is a bit of gaga, it's a bit of comedy stuff. It weren't it could have been 10 minutes long. They got in there, they got out, they did what they needed to. Teddy Long, for me, he made it. Why Paul Ellering looks like fucking Freddie Mercury doing PE, I don't know. Freddie Mercury's doing PE. But I did enjoy it. I don't think it was too unbearable. There was other matches that were unbearable.
Yeah. More unbearable, but again, I've listened to this. Basically, I think this was just a way, because they could see that Teddy Long's hair was thinning and gone. It's basically like booking you in a hair match. It makes no sense.
I do that every weekend.
Exactly. It makes no sense. It's like booking any of us, isn't it? Now, even after we've shaved these, okay, we've got to book you in a hair match, we've got to get rid of it. Makes no sense. And the fact that we see it later on, he's not bald.
I'm not sure. I don't know whether Teddy Long and Paul Ellering was feuding that much either, really.
No, I think it was just Jim Herd's way of getting Teddy Long to cut his hair.
Jack?
Yeah, the gaga of the match is fine, but I have no idea why his hair versus hair, because he cuts a bit of his hair, and then he's still got his hair later in the show.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, Paul Ellering is hardly a man who's being protected in his hair.
Moustache versus moustache match.
But, that's what they say, hair versus hair match. Now, it's not giving you a haircut, you've got to get rid of it. Not just, give you a bit off the side,
Yeah, but in terms of bell-to-bell, for comedy and two people who know how to work a crowd because they're managers, it's fine.
Teddy Long especially, I thought Teddy Long was brilliant. Back to Shivani, introduces the Horseman. Fucking hell. It's Ole, Arn, and then Sid in a tux. And someone hasn't quite told Sid what the fuck to do, because he just sort of stands like confused, like fuck.
It's like Frankenstein going out for a dinner.
It's exactly like that. It's exactly like that.
It does. It looks like dinner. Yeah.
It does look like Vince McMahon has created a wrestler and shoved him in a tux.
Even later on.
Yeah. Oh God.
Later on,
I'll get to that. Ole Anderson calls Luger an idiot for fighting Flair tonight. Ole gets more and more loud until Flair comes in to try and sort it out. He warns Luger he'll have one leg forever. He calls him half the man that Flair is. And then finally someone gives the mic to the man who should be cutting these promos. Arn Anderson gets us back on track. He calls the Horsemen a unified force. He says they'll die before allowing Flair to lose the belt. That was a car crash waiting to happen until Arn got that mic. I'm saying that without no shadow of a doubt. Arn Anderson, it cuts the best promos, probably of any wrestler I can think of. Literally, I think he's a better promo than The Rock, because he can say what he wants without
it. Even better than Guerrero.
Yeah,
of course.
The juice.
Anyway, back to JR and Bob, who continue to hype the main event. Our next match is for the greatest tag team titles. It's the US Tag Team Championship.
Mid-card tag titles.
Yeah, it's the Midnight Express, Sweet Stan Lane and Beautiful Bobby Eaton. I'm assuming this is a dubbed theme, because it's very loud.
It sounds like it.
It
Yeah,
sounds like
dumb.
it, yeah.
I don't know what the Midnight Express theme was, to be honest, but
I think you can find it online. But I don't think it's
very
like
good.
a proper. Yeah, I don't think it's like a proper song. I think they just dubbed it for the sake of it.
Yeah. Our champions are out next. Who do you think they are? Tom Zenk and Brian Pillman. Who put these two together? What the fuck is this?
I think it's basically just get Pillman over.
So, now, I get a feeling this was put on the card for one reason. So Cornette wants none of what has been set up at ringside. I should explain. What has been set up at ringside is a small little cage. And in this match, which isn't a blood feud and hasn't really been built, is Cornette being put into the cage to stop him interfering. Eventually, he gets knocked down by the ref, and Flying Brian and Z-Man dump him in the cage.
Well, you listen to Cornette shoot. They did try and book all this with Pillman with his throat. That's what they wanted to do, but they completely nixed it. Like, they did all the thing with the throat because they wanted Pillman to not have the thing. What they was going to do is take Zenk out and have Pillman take out the Midnight on his own, because then they was trying to build it for Flair, because Flair wanted to work with Pillman, because they could see he was getting over, as you'll see on this. So that's what they wanted to do.
You mean not Zenk?
Hey, not Zenk. And the only reason they had the cage is because of Robocop.
Of course, yeah.
So they hadn't even booked that in.
Yeah.
But it was all just...
So they
completely killed the story.
They took away all the good story and said, but we like the cage.
Yeah, but they'll keep the cage because of Robocop. So, again, listen to Cornette's shoot, and it'll tell you everything about this match.
So there's nice pace from Flying Brian, who does a double leapfrog onto the heels. Flying Brian hits a propelled double clothesline onto the Express. Sweet Stan Lane now takes the punishment, and the Express miscommunicate on a drop kick. Brian hits a beautiful drop kick, and Z-Man atomic drops the heels into one another. Brian gets another 2 on a top rope sunset flip, and Bobby sells a double back body drop, which is just brilliant. I mean, Bobby's selling is just brilliant.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's so good, isn't he?
Very, very good.
Yeah.
As with a lot of WCW at the time, we have an explanation again as to why the referee didn't DQ Zenk for tossing Bobby over the top. I don't know what it is.
Because we don't know when to enforce this or not. VAR.
There's a nice bridge pinfall spot which leads to a neck breaker on Flying Brian on the outside. Stan Lane knocks Brian from the apron neck first onto the guardrail. I assume that's the spot you were mentioning, or a derivative.
No, I think they've done it earlier on to try and build this.
Lovely springboard style backbreaker by Bobby Eaton as Flying Brian is isolated by the heels. Again, that springboard backbreaker is fucking amazing. Double team sees the toe hold and elbow to the back of Brian's head. The referee misses a sunset flip by Brian to give us a visual win for the champions. The crowd pop for the top rope elbow by Bobby Eaton, which again is hit so amazingly.
Yeah,
the crowd
flies off.
Just unbelievable. Crowd is building. Brian is busted open after, I assume, the earlier railing spot. Bobby hits a top rope leg drop, and the crowd completely pop for the late kick out. And Brian hits a botchy sort of tilt the world. That's the only real botch spot.
The gut wrench thing.
Yeah, it was botched. Z-Man, unfortunately, gets the hot tag and the crowd come alive. The heels regroup and hit a rocket launcher. But once again, there's a big kick out. Z-Man gets a 2 on a cross body, but as the ref is getting rid of Brian, a big enziguri to the back of Z-Man's head and a schoolboy roll-up by Bobby wins the title for the Midnight Express. I can't give this match of the night because of so many flaws in the booking of this match. But there's no issues with the actual execution of the match for me. Jack?
Yeah, I agree. I think the booking completely killed it because the whole angle of Cornette in the cage and then they win the belts anyway makes no sense.
It weakens the tag team champs.
Which is why the Midnight Express have to do big elbow drop, big leg drop, give them the rocket launcher to build them to make sure that when they come out of it they're still strong.
Exactly.
And then they win the belts anyway. I ain't got a problem with the in-ring work of all 4, even Zenk.
Yeah, so I put it that he took his roll up nicely.
But they built Pillman. They built Pillman up
You
brilliantly.
took that very well.
They built Pillman up brilliantly, and the Midnight Express are a very, very good tag team.
One of the best.
It didn't need the Gargano or the Cage, and it would have been even better.
The Cage was so stupid. The Cage was the biggest problem because if you're going to have the change here for the titles, you can't have the Cage.
No, exactly.
You just can't have the Cage. Sam?
Yeah, the action, you can't fault it. I know there was a little bit of flub here and there, but
Flub.
Flub.
I like that.
There's a little bit of flub, little bit of flubber here and there. But it was a good match. The Cage was basically built for another segment
Which
that
we'll
wasn't
get to
necessary.
next segment.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a bit strange, the booking of it at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they've
the
killed.
heels winning.
To me, it's the right person to get the pin on. I stress that. But like Jack said, the problem was, I don't think you do the Midnight too much of a favour in having to have the faces kick out on their big finishing moves. So when they win,
twice on the
and you had to have that because the faces had to have some level of, at least they showed that they could compete because they kicked out on that. The booking all died because of that Cage, completely and utterly because of that Cage.
Yeah.
So
because as well, the Cage was to stop Cornette interfering. Yet he could still talk to his people because I thought they pulled it right back to where the Cage was in the next segment. But it was just sort of like...
And that's the thing that annoyed me the most, is it wasn't even creative enough. Like, I've seen people in shark cages and stuff before still get involved. We saw Enzo slide through and all that sort of shit.
Slid in the racket and then you use that, you got away out a little bit.
Exactly, but the fact that they just didn't do anything with it, just put him in a cage, it was just so stupid.
Yeah, about 5 minutes in, you just forgot that he was in a cage.
Or like, you could have had like one of them throw, say, Zenk, because it's got to be Zenk, outside, and he's like close to the cage, and you could have, say, Cornette with his racket to whack him.
Yeah.
Like, at least there's some, it's something.
You're right.
If you've got to have the Cage, you haven't got to, because you haven't got to book the thing that the pay-per-view after. But if you've got into that, because you've done a Russo and put yourself into a corner, if you want to get yourself out of it, do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. It just wasn't creative enough. But I don't think whoever was booking cared quite enough about the US Tag Team Champions, and that's the problem.
I don't like the US.
I'll tell you one thing though, without shadow of a doubt, and we see a lot of tag teams on this, and there's some good tag teams as well still to come. The Midnight Express are the best tag team on this roster. They're better than the LOD. They're better than the Rock and Roll Express. They're better than the Freebirds.
They were the team that they all... If you look at all their booking, even when they lost, they were never harmed.
I think them really good.
They are.
So we get the blow-off now for the Robocop. So backstage, Showley is telling us that they're going to appear. We kind of see Robocop walking slowly. But the camera then just sort of falls and we get static and we lose the feed and we kind of come back and see Robocop's foot. Has Robocop gone mad, or is he laid out Gordon solely?
Shot solely!
We know what he looks like.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a thing later, I think, was he on the Who's Line on Dave? One of them was Wayne Brady had to play Robocop going heel.
Did he?
Yeah, so it was like linked into this.
This is amazing. Sting is out in his pyjamas. He does get a pop though, as you would imagine from his little stingers.
You can hear the disdain in your voice.
No.
I mean, alright with Surfer Sting. Because at least when he cuts his promo, it makes sense at this point.
Yeah. You mean he looks like a person who wouldn't be able to cut a promo?
Who would be able to cut that kind of promos.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that fucking promo later. Robocop is shown slowly walking to the ring. And off camera, because he's so pissing slow, we get the payoff because the heels attack Sting and dump him in the cage.
Yeah.
So Robocop slowly walks over and rips the cage door off, which JR tries to sell.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really give a shit.
There's another little bit on this.
The Horseman sort of looks shocked. Sid doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah,
Someone should have just said, follow on. And they run off. And that's it. Oh, and as they're leaving, Robocop's leg seems to be falling off.
That's it. That's why Cornette says, because the leg was falling off, so that's why he had to hold it. And was walking with one arm, and then he got it in place, and that's why he could do it.
Look, he's pathetic in it.
That's brilliant.
It's absolutely pathetic. As a payoff to a tagline, that's so bad.
And in the cage as well, that's like Cornette don't shake the bars because it's gimmicked for Robocop.
He should have.
Yeah.
I mean, the waste. I mean, I ain't saying it's easy, and we'll know later without Reebok it's not easy. But fuck me, I'd be surprised if none of us could be a tiny bit more creative. Then there's a cage, shove Sting in it for a second.
I love that though. I mean, what if the Horseman didn't throw him in the cage? What would Robocop have done? Just walked out and stared and then ran off?
He should have shot someone. That's the only thing that would have saved this, is if he shot someone.
What if he turned heel and became a Horseman?
Exactly.
What if he come out in a tux?
What about if he cut a promo and said, all this crap in the ring?
Fucking Mark.
I mean, I've put, and I have reviewed it, is that was crap.
Yeah, I'll call around anymore to that.
All that for that.
Yeah, well, don't worry, we're moving on now. JYD's back.
Okay, Gary Capetta and the whole world, the NWA World Championship Wrestling, very excited as we bring this man in right here, returning to the NWA World Championship Wrestling. Let's hear it for the Junkyard Dog.
You know, it's been a long time coming, and everybody got something they got to look forward to. I done been all over this world, Puerto Rico, Japan, and everybody have a downfall. But I went to the mountain one time too many. But now I'm back here in World Championship Wrestling. I'm looking for you, the Four Horsemen. Mean Mark and anybody else that's stepped in the dog yard. Playtime is over, baby. I'm here to stay. So you just bring them on down. Like I said time and time again, every dog needs a bone to chew on, and I found myself a bone.
Certainly found himself a bone and a word, not only to guys like Mean Mark, but, well, what's going on here?
Here a second, Tony Schiavone. This is supposed to be the time that the winner of that tag team match has to talk about the new champions of Midnight Express. This ain't supposed to be your time, so I tell you what, now that we've heard all that you got to say, Junkyard Dog, why don't you go on back in the back and let me say that the Midnight Express did what they said couldn't be done. Said the Midnight Express couldn't win the big one anymore. Said I'd lost it, but we're the U.S. Tag Team Champions. Where have you been the past several years, huh? Where have you been since you left the NWA? We've been out there winning matches. The Midnight Express has been winning titles. Where have you been, huh?
Where have I been? I've been at 845 DeBerry Street in Louisville, Kentucky. You know where that is?
That's my mother's house.
That's what I'm saying. I'm your daddy.
Wait a minute. You may be able to talk to me like that, but you sure can't talk to that guy like that.
Uh-oh. Master James Z may get waylaid here.
You know, that's why I stopped school, because I don't like recess, and I'm not here to play. I'm here to stay. So you tell the NWA the dog is back. Okay, Jack?
Okay. The dog is back. Enough said. Let's go to more action.
It's been around the world, and I can't find a bone to chew on, apparently. He warns the Four Horsemen and Mean Mark. Jim Cornette tries to save the promo, though, and interrupts JYD. Tells him that it's their time and puts over the new tag team champs. He asks JYD...
tag team champ.
Well, yeah. He asks JYD where he's been. JYD says he's been at 845 Dewberry Street, Louisville, Kentucky. James E says, that's my mother's house. And JYD goes, yeah, and I'm your daddy. And Bob Coddle nearly chokes. He loves it.
I can't believe that.
Cornette tries to sucker him with a racket, and JYD calls it. I must admit, for a JYD promo, it's probably the best one I've seen.
I can't believe that he's... Yeah, I'm shagging your mom. Jesus, mate. What the
Did you howl at the moment?
I couldn't believe that. I was so shocked. Thank God for Jim Cornette.
Don't worry though, because the confusion carries on. Because next, the Rock and Roll Express are out on a magic carpet.
See when it fucking like hits the rail, they have to realign it. Morton's like, fucking hell! Why have we got a fucking jukebox?
They come out with a jukebox. Oh, that's amazing.
One note I've put is this jukebox got a manager's license.
They have to put it in the cage. Stop that jukebox getting involved.
And the fact that they was on the platform that they walked out to
it's just amazing. The Freebirds are out, but they were Freebird short. I assume he was in the company, was he not?
Which one?
The one who wasn't there.
Gordy.
Yeah.
I think he was mainly in Japan.
Yeah, he realised I had nothing to do with that company.
Well,
look at the state of Jimmy Garvin.
And you wonder why I hate Jimmy Garvin.
They come out to Bad Street. The pyro on their entrance, which I think is like shooty, sparky fire that comes.
Shooty, sparky flower.
Does it come from their jackets?
I don't really get the entrance.
They're very much a team out of time. This match is
it's out of touch.
Yeah, it's out of time, isn't it? It's very out of
time. It's Michael Hayes in the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, Derry. I like that.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. It's the corporal discipline match, apparently, as well.
Corporal punishment.
Oh, corporal punishment, yeah. The referee wrapped...
Corporal discipline, that's what it should have been.
Well, that's what I called it. The referee gives them what looks like a load of scat leads taped together. But he doesn't give it to them, he puts them on the ring post. And JR sort of sells that this is better.
I don't really get it.
No.
I don't get what the idea is there.
Hayes jibes and struts. My favourite fan is the editor of the WCW magazine, that balding bloke who loses his shit. He's the editor that I talked about earlier of that WCW magazine, which was the Wrestle Rap, I think. I think he references it, JR. He says he's the editor. Of course they had to have a plan. No one gives a shit. Half of them was outside still. You really dosed off another hour, does it?
That's definitely an ego trick from Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin that wanted a plant, otherwise we're not going out.
Yeah, I'd be surprised they couldn't get heat, though, to be fair. But he actually looks like the guy out of the Laurel and Hardy films. That's what he reminded me of.
You drop into a barrel after drinking all.
So also as well, red on red. Both teams wearing red.
I got that a day like that.
Not too sure.
Just get together and what you're wearing. Right, now, we'll wear a different colour.
I suppose what I could also do here to save a bit of time is say, have you seen the Rock and Roll Express match? That's what happens.
Yeah, there's extra start leads involved.
So basically, let's run down it. So Garvin is knocked down by the pace of Morton early on. Slaps are used to pop the crowd as the Freebirds bail. The fans back up the faces as the heels use no tag tactics. Sam would love that. Yeah, they won't use the tag. Dueling figure fours by the Rock and Roll Express. How many wrestlers in the 80s had the figure four as a finisher?
But never won with it.
Well, they've been on top so far. Hayes hits a strut and we get a standoff with the whips. Robert Gibson wins this though, and Hayes again has to leap from the ring. Hayes lays in a big left jab on Morton, and we actually get a visual win for the heels as the ref is sort of tied up with Jimmy Garvin, if I remember right. I think Jimmy Garvin distracts the ref to stop.
Distracting.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. The crowd start a rock and roll chant. There's a near fall on a double team as the heels take control. Series of elbows and another jab, and once again we get a near fall. A ton of heat is dumped on the match as Morton is choked on the outside with a strap. Morton grabs a handful of Garvin's cock and throws him off the top. That happens. Garvin goes to the top and he does grab his cock. That's exactly what happens. There's nice psychology as Morton goes to the wrong corner to sell the exhaustion. That was a good spot. Hot tag is made though, and they take it to Hayes. Hayes and Garvin recover. Hayes hits the DDT. They're too confident though, and on the top and from the top rope, Morton hits a sunset flip and gets the 3. They get the whips in on the Freebirds who bail. Sam?
Yeah, I'd just call watch anything with Jimmy Garvin. It just does my head in. And the whips, it don't make sense. It just with them on the corner. It's just no. I'm just.
How long have the Rock and Roll and Freebirds been feuding at this point?
Exactly.
We've had a long time.
Because I mean, it does feel like this is the same Freebirds that had a whipping match with the Von Erichs in
like '84, and then Fritz appeared.
Yeah,
I think you can tell the wrestlers that can move forward into the 90s and the ones that can't, and I think the Freebirds and the Rock and Roll Express and LOD and people like that, they just get found out for just having one match and doing it over and over again, although we will see the main event later. But yeah, I just thought it was okay. It didn't offend me, but I just thought, what was the point in that?
It's not the Freebirds.
Yeah, well, there weren't any jeopardy in the match. There weren't any reason behind having a gimmick match.
No.
Then the gimmick wasn't very good. Ricky Morton is a very good worker.
Yeah.
He just got shackled with Robert Gibson throughout his whole career. He
Not
could
even.
have been a top star.
Definitely.
Robert Gibson is okay. They work well together. Michael Hayes is a very good heater, but
Yeah.
I don't think he's a very good worker. And Jimmy Garvin isn't very good at this point. He's very gassed.
Do you know what this match needed?
Buddy Roberts.
Terry Gordy. It
Even
missed Terry
Terry
Gordy.
Gordy as well, because you got the monster in it as well.
The problem is, I think Garvin is not as good. Michael Hayes, like Michael Hayes,
He's the same person.
he's just not as good. He's not even as good a worker, and Michael Hayes isn't a great worker. So I don't really know where Garvin falls in the Freebirds. I think he's the wrong fit for the Freebirds. He's better off as just being like a lower mid card.
Chicken
Cocky, chicken chick heel.
That's
Doesn't
what
suit
they say.
the
It's only because he's mates with him. And Buddy, I don't know where Buddy Roberts was at this point.
He's fed up.
He's
He lost
fed
the
up
mill,
and
but
gone.
he was annoyed.
And Gordy was back and forth to Japan now where the proper money was.
No, yeah,
At this point with Doc.
not in WCW is where the money was.
Obviously, Michael Hayes just thought, well, who's my only other friend here who I can keep the Freebirds going? It's Jimmy Garvin. And Jimmy Garvin, I hate that man so much. Why is he
I don't
around?
quite understand your hatred of him as much.
I don't
He's
hate.
just pointless.
Yeah.
He is a pointless man. He should have stayed how he was in world class. Stay like that and you're all right. But trying to be a free... No, you're not a Freebird.
It missed Gordy. It missed
Yes.
Gordy. Gordy should be in every match that the Freebirds have.
Yeah.
It's like having Gangrel and Edge as a team. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the world's strongest man is here, but it's not Mark Henry, it's Doug Furness. He puts over Lex Luger and says he's got the condition and the heart of a fighting champion tonight.
Well, thank you very much. We're very pleased here at World Championship Wrestling to bring in a man that you'll be seeing a lot of in the weeks to come, the world's strongest man, Doug Furness. And Doug, good to have you here, and I know you've been in the back talking with Lex Luger about the situation.
Well, that's right. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I just saw him back in the dressing room a while ago. You know, for a guy that's been in the hospital for 2 weeks, he looks pretty good. I think he's going to be ready to go.
Really a courageous man, wouldn't you say?
It's incredible. You know, the guy was in the hospital for 2 weeks, taking on the world's best, probably professional wrestling, greatest ever heavyweight champ. That's Ric Flair. And I wouldn't be real surprised if we had a new world champion tonight.
Okay, Doug, thank you very much. And we'll be seeing a lot of Doug Furness in the weeks to come here. World Championship Wrestling, the world's strongest man. Now, just a few moments ago, we all witnessed the Stinger. And let's bring him back out once again. Sting, we've seen the attacks from the Horsemen. I know you've been in the back with Lex Luger. This is his big moment.
Yeah, you know, Tony, the bottom line is we've all heard all the warnings from the doctors, top NWA officials, other wrestlers all warning Lex not to step into the ring with Ric Flair. And I know from experience with the Horsemen just how much it means to Lex to get back into the ring with the Horsemen and get that title from Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. The bottom line is, like I said, it's Lex's body, it's Lex's decision, and I would do the same thing if I were Lex Luger and get in the ring and take the title once and for all from the Nature Boy, so you're going to see him do it. Period.
All right. From Sting, and the stage is set. But right now, let's go back to the ring.
Then
he's been in hospital for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Sting. Sting's out. Cuts a typical Sting promo. There's lots of stuttering. Stops. He says something about Luger and ends with period. And I've just put the 3 words after that. I hate Sting. I hate him. I hate him. I hate everything about his promos. He drives me mad. He's not very good. I can't take to Sting. No one can say that was a good promo.
I watched it and it was bad. And throughout it, I was thinking, Ben's going to love this promo because it's everything you hate about it.
Yeah, it's the fact that he hasn't got a plan when he starts talking.
He shouts
so
quick
he just
and his brain
shouts. It's just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
His mouth is going. His
brain's trying to catch up.
His mouth's making noise and his brain's going, fuck, make sense of this.
Awful. I also hate Doom's music, which doesn't
fit at all. What the fuck's that?
The fuck is that?
Such an
What kind of name is Doom?
Well, I don't particularly mind Doom. I know it's a bit.
I don't mind the team.
It is a bit sort of 80s cartoon villain, but I don't mind it. I think I must admit again. I said about tag teams, the definition of fucking Ron and Butch Reed. Yeah. We're gonna fucking beat the shit out of you because we're big fucking muscly blokes. And then you've got the Steiners. Exactly the same, but faces. Yeah. This match is going to be amazing.
We're faces and we're brothers.
Yeah. And do you know these guys went to college as well?
Yeah.
Anyway,
never mess with Ron now. Steiners never mess with Ron.
You wouldn't?
No.
I would not.
And there was the
quote
apparently that Ron always said why they never mess with him. Because I'm unfuckwittable.
You can't mess with Ron Simmons.
Butch Reed that can mess with.
What happened to Steiner's hair? Steiner's hair? What the fuck happened?
Oh, fluffy head.
He went backstage and put his head in a fucking blender.
It's one of them, the ball thing which makes your hair go up.
Or he went to sleep and woke up seeing Chucky.
Yeah,
and they went,
that's your future. Now Steinerized, which was annoying. JR does really put over this match, though. You know this is like JR's dream match.
They're both proper athletes.
Four athletes and meaty and a tag match. You know JR loves
a tag.
So Rick Steiner steals Teddy Long's do-rag and the crowd pop at his bald spot. Teddy tells the camera to do one as he readjusts it.
I've still got hair, you know.
JR tells us a college story about Big Ron who's got slammed about the place by Scotty. I don't know what's going on. Scotty hits a belly to back and gets nuclear heat. JR continues to go through the football history of Butch Reed now. He fares a little better but gets body dropped and Steiner lined. Rick Steiner is in, and this time JR shares a story about him being invited to go fishing with Rick Steiner. Fair enough.
It was weird.
Rick Steiner hits a slam on Butch Reed on the outside, and Scott face plants Reed onto the guardrail. A huge modified pile driver, which is better than when Greg Valentine did it, on Big Ron, and the champions are dominating. Scotty hits a shoulder breaker on... I didn't realise this was his nickname, but you'll probably tell me it was always his nickname. Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Yeah, it was.
A big knee by Butch Reed, and the heels now work over Scott Steiner. JR calls Ron Simmons Burt Reynolds' favourite wrestler.
That did be
I get that.
Why did he say that?
Here comes Burt Reynolds' favourite wrestler, Ron Simmons from Florida State.
Not a clue. There's a very snug sort of feel to this match. Everything... You get the impression is laid in. Let's put it that way. Teddy lays in punches on Scott Steiner on the outside, and it's probably the only working punches that have happened all night. Big bulldog by Butch Reed gets a 2. He hits his own pile driver, and the crowd it doesn't really react to the Frankensteiner, because the Frankensteiner is a big move for Scott Steiner at this point. I mean, he nearly kills Ron Simmons. I mean, Ron Simmons really is lucky he's not dead. Because I don't know what happened with that Frankensteiner.
It's a good job he's just thick.
Kevin Keegan makes the tag. Oh, sorry. Rick Steiner takes out Doom. Chaos now, leaving Rick and Butch Reed inside. The finish basically sees Ron pull Rick off the top rope by his hair, and he brings Butch Reed with him, crushing him for the 3 count, and new tag team champions. For the 4th tag match running, it ended in schmoz. Referee doesn't see something, and either heels or faces take advantage of the chaos. Bit annoying that we got that, but yeah, Sam.
It was an okay match until the finish. It was. I don't get the finish. I was expecting something a bit more spectacular.
Powerful from like a powerhouse tag team. Yeah, I agree.
Instead of fell on you. See.
Well, you'd have thought there'd have been a distraction or a Teddy Long thing, and then we had to finish it.
Or an international object used.
We'll get to that. Yeah. I mean, I actually really liked 90% of the match. I didn't like the finish. I think it was too weak. And because we've watched 3 other tag teams, unfortunately, this suffers because it's the fourth of a very similar formula.
On an 8-match card, you've got 5 tag teams.
It's too many. It's far too many. And I don't mind it as long as they have identity of the tag teams. But they all follow a very similar sort of pattern. But Doom and the Steiner brothers, they're money. They're complete money. They're money. Yeah. The Steiner brothers don't quite sell enough for me, but they sell a lot more than LOD. These two are miles better than LOD. Miles better than LOD. And I do like the fact that that Doom went over. I think Doom needed the titles at this point. Jack?
Yeah, I like the match. I like Doom a lot.
Damn good, isn't they?
A bit of a boy team. Good. I like the Steiners. I like the pacing. I like the way it worked. Wasn't big on the finish. Was a bit burnt out from 4 tag team matches and they weren't differentiated enough. They were all pretty much the same formula. But this was easily the best tag team match on the card. And it was the right time to switch the belts. So all around, very good. I enjoyed it.
Yep. So, Tony interviews our new tag team champions, which are Doom. Teddy Long says he's lost a little hair, but he's gained the world. Reed is very gassy, and he says that they are the real deal. And Doom rules, baby. And Ron Simmons says they took him like a man. Which I like. Ron Simmons is so believable, isn't he? Main event time, and out comes the US champion. Forgot he was the US champion. Which by and large makes him the number 1 contender, doesn't it?
And he is the longest ever US champ ever.
Is it?
2 years or something?
Yeah, something like
2 years.
He should have fought Flair every week because he's the 1 contender.
He's Lex Luger. He busts out of his little belt as he makes his way in, and he's got very 80s style hair and green pants. What a time to be alive. Ric Flair, accompanied by, I just think it's a brilliant fit as a manager. Woman looking like a complete $1 million. And the cage is a very big cage. It drops around. It's fucking massive.
Either the Thunderdome or the Chamber of Horrors cage.
It's just massive, whatever it is.
Because it goes up at the top. I was just expecting them to still have the leather off the side.
We do get a big match feel to it. With fairness to WCW, that was what they did different to WWE. It felt like it was going to be a big match. Luger wants a woman checked. The referee finds a foreign object in her pocket.
International.
Tampon, are you?
I don't know what the bloody hell it was.
You got a tampon on your go.
It was the nasal spray. That's what I thought it was.
By all, but just got bad allergies.
Say what you will. I mean, look, Lex Luger ain't going to make my top 100 wrestlers at all, but he is so over with the crowd. Yeah. The crowd do care about Lex Luger.
Well, the problem was Sting got injured, and they turned him face.
Yeah.
Quickly. Because they just turned him heel and he was getting good as a heel, and then they had to quickly turn him face because the next face was fucking Johnny Ace or something. So they had to go with Luger, and he is still. I mean, he looks $1 million though, and everything like that. He's still a bit of a heel, but he looks great. He's over.
The only one after Sting.
You ruined my rebooking a bit because I don't realise he'd only been that quite close to being a heel. And been now with face.
Because Sting got injured, they had to switch Luger back.
Yeah, again, this is all cornet saying anything.
I read it in Ross's book.
Yeah, and there as well.
So, Luger now sells the corner chops, and Flair bumps around for the US champion. Flair goes to escape the giant cage, but it's to sucker Luger in. He uses the cage to slow the challenger. Ric Flair gets a bit of offense, but Luger continues to no-sell on a suplex now and lays in 10 punches in the corner. Literally in the same segment, Flair does his corner bump, his top rope bump, and his Flair flop all in one. Once again, the cage is climbed by Flair. This is basically to allow him to get some blood on his head. Flair uses the cage brilliantly to tease trying to escape Luger. He just puts over his opponent, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You can't go into a Flair match and not come out better. We get a pan shot of some smarks in the crowd as Luger hits a huge superplex, but now sells an injured knee. I think they had built that he'd got an injury.
Yeah, that he'd been in hospital. It ain't like they'd told you.
Yeah. Flair zones in on the leg now. The figure four is locked in. Great camera shot of a bloody Ric Flair using the ropes. I mean, he's covered in blood. His teeth are bloody. He looks like the devil. The Horsemen are out now for some reason. He's completely on top. And Luger seems to have sorted his leg out because he clotheslines Flair. Arn and Ole team to climb in the cage, but think better of it. Luger gets a near fall. Sting is out to lay out Ole. Sid just does not know what to do.
Yeah.
Just looks around like, should I attack him? What should I do? And if he doesn't, he's not even the worst. Because, Jesus Christ, what happens here? El Gigante, dressed in God knows what. I have not a clue what he is dressed like. And he's out. The four horsemen just do not know what to do. All in this confusion as they chase them around the cage. The cage is raised slightly because we're told...
it's only Anderson. He's got hold of the control.
Ole or the big boss man have got the lever to raise it. Barry Windham runs inside the cage. Barry Windham looks in good shape, in fairness, and causes a cage match to end in a DQ.
Yes.
The chaos now, as I'll ask your thoughts at the end of it, we'll wrap the show up. Chaos now as Arn, Windham and Flair work over Luger in the cage, which has been lowered. Finally, the cage is up and Sting is in. The Horseman just sort of wandered past El Gigante.
He don't know what to do.
Don't know what to do at all. Flair screams at Schiavone that he's the champ and that he did it. The faces look on from the ring. Sting now gets fed up with this. He takes out Flair. El Gigante walks alongside him. And JR just goes, well, that's it, folks.
I love that. Yeah. That's it. See you next week.
Thoughts on that, Jack?
The match was just Sting's match with Luger instead of Sting, and then, which is fine. And then the DQ is completely stupid. And then the end is even more gaga, really. The cage raises a little bit, the heels get in. Then you get Sting, who's got a knee injury, but we're going to get him to bend down to get in a cage, which could aggravate the injury, which is stupid. We've already had him with one stiff bloke who is a movie star. Now we've got him with a big, stiff, 7-foot giant who don't know what wrestling is, let alone what to fucking do. And then
it's just so bad.
Just went all
why did
bollocks.
If this whole event is about Robocop, why did Robocop walk out with you?
Exactly. That's what I thought.
And then El Gigante looks... he looks terrible. Completely and utterly terrible. And Sid already looks terrible.
Why don't they just do a stare off of Sid and... No, I'm saying stare off of Sid and El Gigante.
Yeah.
They ain't going to do anything. All they're going to do is stare at each other and then they can fuck off.
If they'd have built that Sid is like the proper muscle of the Horseman... And Sting has got his own muscle, and that's the tease, so that he can sort out his shit with it. Then fine, but they didn't even do that.
No.
And I felt bad for Luger because I actually thought bell to bell, this is as good a Luger match as I've seen, mainly because of Mr. Flair.
Well, Flair
but this is as good as Luger's looked, and as over as I felt Luger is, and he was so irrelevant come the end.
Yeah,
because it was now look at this giant man, and Sting is the guy anyway. So yeah, so.
Yeah, this is definitely a Sting Flair match, but the ending is because it's Luger, not Sting. If it was Sting, he'd have had a cleaner ending. Because when was Great American Bash?
The next pay-per-view.
And that's when Sting won the belt when he had Orndorff, Junkyard Dog, the Steiners, Elegante.
I suppose they're called Apple or something. Dudes with attitude
or something like that. But basically, this is where Sting probably would have won the belt.
I think so.
But they had to get a way out of it. They had to get somebody in to replace Sting. But they couldn't have Flair lose the belt because Flair wanted to lose it to Sting. That's basically what it was. And I don't know why Elegante's there.
Oh, I mean, you could have saved him for when you're going to do the proper build. So you've got Sting overcoming the odds of the Horseman, and by doing that, he's got the big bastard. He's already been on the bloody news and stuff with Ted Turner. He signed him. They know he exists. Don't put him out there.
He's no good at the basketball star. He's no good for the basketball that we signed him for, so he's wrestling now.
Useless. The thing that annoys me is it's typical wrestling, isn't it? Where they have something that sidetracks them with injuries and stuff, and I accept that they call plan that. So what they do is they shoehorn someone in who's hot and completely sacrifice him. WWE still do that now. They get hit with something, so they look for who's the closest to him, who probably needs another year to be ready, but we'll just shoehorn him in, see if they work out. When they don't, that's them ruined forever.
Yeah.
And this was the problem with Luger. I don't think it ruined him forever, but it slowed his progression because he had a good match with Flair here, but at the end of the pay-per-view, you was thinking, who's that giant bastard? And I can't wait till Sting fights Flair. So
maybe you can fight Big Mark.
What the hell is Robocop?
Well, exactly. So, round table then. I think it'll be unanimous. I'll be surprised if it isn't. Match of the night, Sam? It might not be.
US tag title match.
It wasn't then. Jack?
Doom v the Steiners.
Doom Steiners for me as well. I don't think that was a bad match. I just hated the cage gimmick. It just really bothered me. But then I can also accept the ending for Doom and Steiner we showed. Worst match of the night?
I'm going to go the opener, the 6-man tag.
Yeah.
I think that's a shout purely because of the LOD. I put Mean Mark and Johnny Ace because the booking of that was terrible. I didn't feel that Mean Mark was put over.
Yeah, that was the first one. I thought of Mean Mark, Johnny Ace.
Not only that, you got two giant monsters at the end, so he's irrelevant. And the opening match is full of them. The MVP of the show?
I'm going to go Jim Ross. I think he did well on commentary.
I love Bob Collins.
Well, the commentary team in general.
I'm going Tony Schiavone. Because he left the WF and he stuck it out for another 10 years.
He's such a Tony Bar. And I'm going to go purely and simply because I think he deserves to be MVP after this. Teddy Long was my second choice. I actually put Lex Luger or Teddy Long. I think Lex Luger deserves so much more respect after this than he got from the company. Because he was really good. LVP? Least valuable player.
Robocop?
Yep.
Robocop?
Yeah, Robocop, El Gigante and Sid in that order is basically the way it went. But if you've got one, it is Robocop, isn't it?
Why?
Headline, bottom line it, I'd put not terrible. I actually thought it was going to be a lot worse than this.
Yeah.
But it was typical WCW in not really knowing what their direction was, what they were quite trying to do, trying a bit too much, and having very formulaic plans for everything else. That's my sort of headline.
A company stuck in the past.
Yeah.
The appearance of Robocop. It's not the return. He appeared once.
Seems reasonable as well. Yeah. So we now take the unenviable task of attempting to rebook this event and to do it differently or better, or just we've got to include Robocop.
Yes.
That was the only thing, but yes, we attempted to rebook the Capital Combat. I'm going to open with you, Sam, for some reasons.
Right. Okay. So I've got 8 matches.
Yeah.
I've kept Robocop and I've kept Sting's injury because you can't
rebook it. Yeah,
instead of saying we'll book it a month later.
Yeah.
So I've kept Sting's injury. So first match, LOD v Bam Bam and Cactus. Because if you want to have the LOD on, if you want to try and keep them or whatever, you need book them in the tag team. I tried to keep the tag teams at a minimum.
Yeah.
But I've got 4.
Try to give us a minimum and book the same amount.
Look, no, there was 5.
That was the 5 on the main card?
Yeah, there was 5 on the main card.
The 6-man though, yeah?
Yeah, I've got rid of the 6-man.
Yeah, well that 6-man don't count as a tag.
He's still a tag, yeah. So, and you got Cactus who can bump for him.
Yeah.
And you can highlight Cactus. So, Yeah, you got that first match, and you got LOD going over because it's LOD.
Yeah.
The next match is Wyndham versus Junkyard Dog. You can try and do a thing with the Horseman, you know, Sting can say, I've got a friend coming back or whatever, and the Horseman can say, okay, we'll fight.
We're
it. Yeah, fight. So then it could be Wyndham v Junkyard Dog, because Junkyard Dog is not how he used to be, and Wyndham's the best one for it. Purely because Arn's fighting Dr. Death in the next match.
Okay.
Because I looked at the roster.
Was he on the roster?
He was on the roster at this point, and I thought, I wanted to get Dr. Death on it, and I thought, well, Arn can have a good match with him. I can't remember who's TV champ at this point. Who is TV
Probably
champ?
Arn.
It's probably Arn. Let's just say it's Arn. So let's have a TV title match.
Was it Steve Regal?
No,
I don't think
he's in. I think they wanted somebody who's in one of the tag teams, I think.
Right.
Oh, like Rick Steiners.
Bobby Eaton.
No, I think maybe not, actually.
Yeah.
It was Arn.
Well, there you go. Arn v
God.
Dr. Death TV title match. Because I initially thought, well, who's the US champ? And then I saw Luger come out and I thought, okay, I can't really book that. Next match would be a strap match.
Yeah.
And actually have it as a strap match.
Yep.
It's the Rock and Roll v the Samoans.
Yep.
So you can have a Samoan strap match. Because I'm pretty sure somebody booked that somewhere.
But
And
no
have
one's
them
going to
connected
argue.
to each other.
No one's going to argue.
Yeah.
You tell wrestling fans at this time, Samoans, you know, them infamous for the
Well,
straps.
Using a strap.
And as well, I tried to get the tag team matches to where you've got these monsters, the Samoans, that can work with proper people, like the Rock and Roll, who can sell for them.
Yeah.
And if you've got the straps, at least, because I hate the Freebirds, so sorry Freebirds, fuck off.
You hate the Freebirds
Yeah,
now
I
as
hate,
well.
to be honest, yeah, the Freebirds, Terry Gordy gets
Yeah,
a bit of a
okay,
pass.
you
The
like
rest of
anyone?
them,
Do you like wrestling?
yes, I like wrestling, just not that. So it's the Rock and Roll v the Samoans in a Samoan strap match. Next one, Mean Mark versus Eddie Gilbert. Because Eddie Gilbert was on the roster,
He's a better choice.
and he's better than Johnny Ace.
Definitely.
I initially put Tommy Rich, but then I saw Eddie Gilbert and I thought, fuck Tommy Rich. I don't care if he's
He's a
world
bit too
champ.
big as well.
He's too big, and yeah, he's weird.
You don't like a lot, do you?
No, Eddie Gilbert's better. And at least he could kind of sell for Mean Mark, because you want to push Mean Mark
Yeah.
as a monster, so get that. Tag title match, Steiners and Doom. I did maybe try and break that up, but I did quite like it as well. US tag title match, as much as I hate the US tag titles,
Me.
keep them together, but I'd make that a cage match.
Okay.
Instead of calling it in a cage, make it a cage match.
A proper cage.
A proper cage match.
Steel cage.
Yeah, steel cage match.
No, I mean not the cage that.
Not
we
the
had
big
at
fucker,
the
no,
one
that's
on the
terrible.
ring.
Not the Hogan v Piper with the little bit cut off.
Yeah.
No, a proper cage match. Because at least then you could build in the story Cornette interfering
Yeah,
is a way of keeping him out. Keep that.
And the midnight win.
Yes, just you can do some shenanigans and carry on that story. So at least you got something for the wrestling fans. The main event, sure. The main event would be Flair v Luger. Again, you've got to have Luger in it really, because Sting's gone. But you'd have Flair with the Horseman, and you could have Robocop and Sting in Luger's corner, because the Horseman will be with Flair. So you could have Sting say, okay, Luger's my hand-picked replacement, because he's his mate in real life. And we've got Robocop to, with Sid or Oli or whatever. So at least you can get him there just to stand there and walk around a bit. Having Chase on, something like that.
Arn deserves better.
He does deserve better, that's why I give him a match. But it's just, if you want to have Robocop, have him in the corner. Don't have him just come out, bend some rubber balls, whatever. Have him there, build him up a bit.
I'd rather that than what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the card.
Fair enough. So my
It's shit, but it's there.
I don't think it was that bad. In fairness, I've heard you do a lot worse than that. So
Yeah.
my
Halloween ever.
my card would open up with the crowd popper. It's the 90s. We ain't got the Rockers, but we have got Pillman and Z-Man versus the Midnight Express
I thought you was going to say the Rock and Roll.
for the US title there is no cage, and James E. Cornette will cost the tag champs, and the Midnight will win. Next match is the standard second on a card introduction to a new character, Squash, and it is Mean Mark beating Brad Armstrong, who I think is a much better wrestler. And unfortunately, I don't particularly want... If I was booking it long term, I wouldn't sacrifice Brad, but I'm not, so Brad loses to
sacrifice Johnny.
Yeah, definitely would have, yeah. Next match, I booked it. Sam hasn't. I'd be surprised if you have, but I've had the Teddy Long, Paul Ellering comedy match, because I think you all need a bit of comedy. Next match, we have got to put over Sid, because Sid just sort of appeared around here. So I've put in destroying Captain Mike Rotundo in a squash match. Next match, and the second tag match on my event, is Doom versus the Steiner brothers. I think after seeing 2 squash matches and a comedy match, you want some high stakes match, and Doom would beat the Steiner brothers. I don't think I could ever convince them to be a bit cleaner than what the finish was. But I would try at the very least and convince them that it would be best for business if they lost.
A move.
Yeah. Wild Brawl. Cactus Jack is a face for me, and he's going up against Bam Bam Bigelow. If he isn't a face, he's turned face now. And Jack would turn and join Sullivan here as a heel in the win over Bam Bam. My crowd karma, because again, maybe it's people with face paint. I just have got no time for the LOD at all. I really just have no time for them. So I've got the LOD fighting the Freebirds. I would have the LOD win because the Freebirds are really past it at this point. But I would have the SWAT team lay out LOD afterwards to put over the SWAT team.
That's not going to happen.
No,
for us, brother.
No, I know this. But unfortunately...
You could beat up Paul.
Yeah. I'll just have a meeting and then cut to commercial.
Or just as I'm about...
We're going to go for a break. We're going to go to the bench.
But yeah, I would desperately try and get the SWAT team to at least the LOD. Just say to the LOD, at this point, you've beaten up everyone. So you've got to do... This is the weirdest feeling in the world now of wanting to cheer but can't. You've got to put over another team. You've got to put over another team so you've got some lengthy feud. Because if you don't, we've run out of teams you can beat up now. So yeah, that would be that. My main event is all the storyline is put in this. So my main event is Flair on Wyndham versus Luger, Ricky Morton, and JYD.
Oh
no. So Sting's shot for the Great American Bash is on the line. The mystery is built around what Lex is going to do, because Flair has guaranteed Lex that if he loses this match and lays down for him, he'll give him the title shot at the Bash. Flair guarantees him the shot. Sting isn't sure whether he can trust them, and obviously the nuance that's been added now with a recently turned Luger helps as well. And the Horsemen take out, because it was going to be Luger and the Rock and Roll, but they take out Robert Gibson. Don't like Robert Gibson that much.
Injuries only.
JYD returns. He is a friend of Sting. You can trust him. Yeah. But obviously Luger's not giving him any guarantee. So Robocop is there to enforce the law. Because
like
not only he's doing the Chuck Norris to keep out Sid, but also
just Sid
and Ole, because I didn't put Ole in a match because fuck Ole.
Yeah.
And but also obviously you've got JYD helping Sting out. So Lou, you can tease this where JYD wins the match for Sting over Wyndham, but it will also continue did Luger do it because of Robocop? Did Luger do it because of JYD? And would he have pinned Flair? Because then when Sting wins at the Bash, the ready-made feud is Luger and Sting.
Yeah.
There you go. That's my rebooking.
My rebooking starts with the Rock and Roll Express versus the Freebirds. No corporal punishment. And the Rock and Roll win to start the card off hot. Match number 2 is Sid Vicious, or whatever his name was at this point.
Malicious Sid Vicious.
What was his name?
Malicious Sid Vicious.
Was he?
Malicious.
Have you just rebooked that?
No.
That's a terrible name.
That's crap.
I've rebooked that out of
Yeah,
existence.
it's now just Sid Vicious versus Tommy Rich. Basically a squash to build Sid.
Yeah.
Match number 3 is the US Tag Title match. It's Pillman and the Z-Man versus the Midnight Express. No cage. Midnight win through Cornet. Shenanigans. Match number 4 is Kevin Sullivan versus Norman, the used to be lunatic, now wears pajamas.
Politically correct. Angry man.
Norman the miffed man.
Norman the slightly perturbed man. And Norman would win. To put the crowd. Yeah.
I don't mind Norman. I think he just he was determined to turn himself into a grossly overweight wrestler who couldn't move anymore.
Stop eating. Match number 5 is the Junkyard Dog versus Arn Anderson, because Arn can work with anyone, and JYD had a very large belly.
Definitely.
And Arn can make him look very good.
Yeah, you're going to put out with JYD.
I can't do it.
Poor Arn.
No,
he's right though. He's lost on all of our cards, and Arn deserves better.
Arn's like the Midnight, where you don't have to win, and he still looks good.
Yeah.
JYD can't pin him because it kills. I mean, JYD has to win. He's only just come back.
Yeah.
Match number 6, me and Mark versus Captain Mike Rotundo, which we watched, didn't we?
No, we didn't do 5.
No, we didn't, did we?
Fucking IRS
Taker. And obviously,
Death and Taxes.
foreshadowing the future.
Me and Captain.
me and Mark win.
Me and Captain.
Match number 7 is a match that Sam booked, Cactus and Bam Bam versus the Road Warriors.
Yep.
As a brawl.
Yeah.
As a tornado. We're going to brawl everywhere. At least give Cactus and Bam Bam an out.
And some flights.
And the LOD gives them an out because then no one's thinking, why are they selling for anyone, the bastards? Anyway, I don't like the LOD.
You're joking. Okay, that's but tell.
You said this on the podcast.
Yeah. Match number 8 is the Steiners versus Doom for the tag titles, and Doom would win the belts there.
You had that, didn't you?
Yeah.
With a move, not full
with a move.
Top. But it will have like shenanigans to get to the move.
I don't mind that. I don't mind Teddy being a. I just don't like Rick Steiner losing because of ripping down his head because he pulled his wig off.
And then the main event is a cage match. That cage, the big cage.
Yeah.
Ric Flair versus Lex Luger. Ric Flair's going to win because the bars are that big that he can fit something through to where one of the horsemen come down, fit something through for Flair to use, and he wins. Then Ole is shown backstage to the watching audience at home, but nobody in the arena because they don't have a Titantron, that he's sort of, no, not Ole, Wyndham, is shown that he's got control of the cage. He raises the cage, the horsemen go in and he lowers the cage. And the horsemen get in and beat him up. And then out comes Sting, JYD, people like that, and Robocop.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get in the cage, and Robocop's, I'm going to gimmick the cage to where Robocop bends the cage, and then they get in through that. And then El Gigante is going to be shown backstage. It's his debut, sort of staring at Mr. Wyndham, and then Wyndham's going to raise the cage, or he's going to fuck off, and El Gigante raises the cage himself anyway. So it was pointless that he bent the cage, but he did. And then the faces get in, and they all have a bit of a smars, and they back off, and they help Luger to his feet, and that's it.
So they hold him on his shoulders.
They hold him on his shoulders. Confetti comes there. You lost the fucking neck. And then that's it.
So, if you feel that you could have used Robocop in a more creative way, let us know now on our Twitter page, which is at BCCpod, or our website, which is bettercallcreative.com, or our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/BCCpod. We round out the episode, as we always do now, with a very creative fantasy card. And as Robocop, presumably, because he's got Robo in the name, is a robot cop, we took the task of using robots.
Oh, I thought it was cops.
Yeah, in the creative way to go up against 80s WCW stars. So it's 6 matches with 80s WCW stars against the Robot. My match card is 16. You rounded it out, so I'm going to throw to you first, Jack. You tend to round out the rebookings.
You trust me more than you should. My match number 1 is Sting versus Robocop.
No one can argue it.
Why not? And I'm going with Sting.
I don't think I've used Robocop. My first match is now a 5-way dance. It is terrible. Sid Vicious versus Mean Mark versus Vision from Marvel versus Cyborg from DC versus Robocop because I forgot him. And I would put over Vision because I'm watching Vision. It's a program at the moment.
Okay.
Yep.
My first match is a tag match. It is Shunt and Dead Metal versus the Rock and Roll.
Shunt and Dead Metal.
Yes.
Who has Robert Gibson going to sell for them?
He's got him down his shit. I would put over the Rock and Roll.
My next match is a tag match. It's the Steiner brothers versus Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. Because the Steiners throwing around Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, it'd be quite a sight. But they're going to lose. Optimus Prime and the Bumblebee will win.
Yeah, seems reasonable. My next match is the Freebirds and Megatron versus Brian Pillman, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and Dragonzord. Because I had to fit him in somewhere. And I'm putting over the faces.
My next match is Brian Pillman versus Alpha 5. I'm putting over Pillman.
You dropping out Alpha 5? Poor Alpha.
Damn it.
Aye. My match number 3 is Ron Simmons versus Cyborg.
Yep.
And I'm putting over Ron. You don't fuck with Ron, even if you're a robot.
My next match is Sting and Luger versus Johnny Five and Wally.
Wally?
Jesus. And I'm putting over Sting and Luger.
My next match is a 6-man tag. It's the full 3 Midnight Express. So Eaton, Lane and Convict versus Sector, Cyrax and Smoke.
Yeah.
And I'm putting over Sector, Cyrax and Smoke.
I've got the feeling they might appear again later on.
They're going to appear now because match number 4 is the Road Warriors, which is Luger, Animal, Hawk and Ellering versus Sector, Cyrax and Smoke.
I love the fact that you've got so much confidence that they will job. they will job for them. The what are they called? Linquay. What are they called?
The Cyber Linquay.
The Cyber Linquay.
No, they ain't jobbing. They're good out.
Not a chance.
Paul Ellering will take the ball.
Oh, yeah, true.
They've got a buzzsaw for
Animal and Hawk can beat the shit out of Smoke and Cyrax, and Sector can pin Paul Ellering and shave his hair versus hair.
I can't believe I have actually used Robocop, so I've got to replace him there. My next match is Cactus Jack versus Bender. From because he would be the hardcore robot, wouldn't he, Bender? And I'm putting over Bender.
My next match, this is the last match I couldn't think of earlier. It's Bender versus Ric Flair.
Oh, you thought of Bender as well.
Flair putting over Bender.
He would still get a 5-star match out of Bender.
I'm putting over Bender. I like future.
What a match that would be. Match 5, Lex Luger versus Ultron. And Ultron would go over.
My next match is a 4-way dance tag team match. It's LOD versus the Steiners versus... Well, it was Robocop and Terminator, but it's now going to have to be Terminator and the T-1000. So the 2 Terminators versus Cyrax and Sector. And fuck Smoke. And I'm putting over... I am going to put over Cyrax and Sector.
There you was
My next match is Cyborg versus Arn Anderson. And I'm putting over on.
My last match is War Games. It's the 4 Horsemen versus the House Robots, Sir Killer, Not Sergeant Bash, Shunt and Dead Metal.
Who's the first one?
Me and you've got the same brain sometimes, don't we? Who's going
over?
My main event is a War Games of the 4 Horsemen versus Sir Killer, Shunt, Dead Metal, and Sergeant Bash. I didn't
That's
put
right,
Matilda. Did you put that as well?
Matilda's a female, so you can't be.
Why not Growler or Mr. Psycho?
Fuck them. Fucking later one.
Oh, what was it? Cassius Crow?
Cassius Crow.
Yeah, the
I
very
was
last
going to
one.
wear that blue robot Power Ranger Ninja, whatever he was called.
Ninja.
Ninja. What a terrible career. Fucking hell.
What
Power
about
Ranger
the
people.
Saban.
Zeo one?
Saban. Saban.
Heels from the Zeo.
I'll put over the Four Horsemen.
No, I was going to have the Beetle.
But I thought that, but they're not technically robots.
They're balls.
The validity of your card is false.
My main event is a tag match. It's Robocop and Sting versus Terminator and Sid.
Yeah. Quite rightly so. I don't know how Sid made it. Definitely should have.
Just
been
remember,
Flair.
in that team, there's only one Hall of Famer. And that's Terminator.
What about Sting?
Sid ain't in the Hall of Fame, but Terminator is.
That's brilliant. But if you can think of, and there is plenty more, any other robots, there's probably more robots than there is 80s WCW stars that we missed out. Let us know on our Twitter page, which is at BCCpod, on our website, which is bettercallcreative.com, or our Facebook page, which is there you go, Caged Out, which is facebook.com/BCCpod. That rounds out our episode, but we will be back. That leaves me to say, I think I called you Sergeant Bash, but I might have called you Shunt. But I could have called you Sigil a lot. I don't know. One of the house robots is Sam Chad saying
goodbye.
It's Bender himself. It's Sam Chad saying
goodbye.
Goodbye, folks.